You know that feeling when you sit down to do something that actually matters, and 40 minutes later you are still holding your phone. You cannot quite remember picking it up, and the thing you were going to do is still sitting there, completely untouched, quietly judging you from across the room. Yeah, that one. I have done that more times than I would like to admit. I will sit down at the desk with a cup of tea and a genuinely good intention, and something will ping, or I will just unlock the phone out of what I can only describe as pure muscle memory. And the next thing I know, the tea is cold. I have watched a video of a man in Idaho explaining why he organises his garage a specific way. I care deeply about his shelving system, and whatever I was supposed to be doing has completely evaporated. And the strangest part is not even the lost time. It is that I do not feel rested afterward. I feel slightly worse than before I picked it up. A bit foggy, a bit flat, like eating a whole packet of biscuits and then sitting there wondering why you do not feel better. That is the thing nobody talks about, honestly. Distraction does not feel like distraction while it is happening. It feels like a break. It feels like a reward. It is only afterward, when you look at the clock and realise it is somehow 3 in the afternoon and you have achieved precisely nothing since 9:30, that the reality of it lands. So, distraction. Not the occasional kind. Not the human, understandable, I needed 5 minutes kind. The constant, low-level, all-day kind that has quietly become the background noise of most people's lives, including mine for quite a long time. The thing I had to properly understand first, and this took me longer than it should have, is that what is happening is not random. It is not that the phone is just there and human beings are naturally a bit nosy. There are rooms full of very intelligent people whose entire job is to make sure you keep looking at it. The attention you give to your screen is worth actual money to actual companies. Every extra minute you spend scrolling generates revenue for somebody else. Your distraction is not an accident. It is a product. You are not using the app. The app is using you. Now, I am not going to go full conspiracy about this because it does not help and it sounds exhausting. And also I still use these things, so clearly I have not solved it. But just knowing that, just sitting with the fact that the thing in your pocket was specifically designed by very clever people to be as hard to put down as possible, changes how you think about it slightly. It is not a character flaw that you keep picking it up. It is working exactly as intended. The question is whether you want it to keep working on you, or whether you want to have some say in the matter. And then there is the deeper problem, the one underneath the lost time. I noticed this about 2 years ago. I was trying to think through something, a work problem, nothing dramatic, just a thing that needed a bit of proper thought. And I could not do it. Not because it was too hard, because I kept interrupting myself. Not with my phone, just in my own head. My brain kept sort of jumping, reaching for something, wanting to check something, wanting input, like it had forgotten how to just sit with a problem and turn it over quietly. And that genuinely unsettled me, because I used to be able to think. I used to be the kind of person who could sit with an idea for an hour and actually get somewhere with it. And somewhere, in the previous few years, without really noticing, I had apparently trained my brain to expect constant stimulation. And when the stimulation stopped, even for 2 minutes, even by choice, it got uncomfortable. That is what constant distraction actually costs you. Not just the time, the capacity, the ability to think deeply, to stay with something uncomfortable long enough to understand it, to be bored for 5 minutes without reaching for something to fill the gap. That gets eroded quietly over months and years, and you do not notice it going because each individual moment of picking up the phone seems completely harmless. And it is harmless individually. But try to picture it across a whole day. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. A quick check while the kettle boils. A scroll while you are waiting for the microwave. Another one while you are sitting on the edge of the bed before you have even properly woken up. None of it feels like losing your life. But it is. In scraps. Little handfuls of time that add up to hours, and the hours add up to days, and somewhere at the end of all that is a version of a life you could have been actually living. Here is the thing about boredom. And this sounds like the sort of thing someone says when they are about to be very annoying, but stay with me. Boredom is not empty. It is actually where things happen, real things. I am standing at the kitchen sink doing the washing up, which is not exactly thrilling. And if I have got my phone on the counter playing something, nothing comes from that time except clean plates. But if I just stand there, just let my mind wander, things start to surface. Problems I had not solved, ideas I had not finished, things I needed to say to someone. The brain does this naturally when you give it nothing to react to. It starts generating instead of just receiving. I know that sounds a bit grand for washing up, but genuinely, some of the most useful thinking I have done in the last couple of years happened while I was doing something completely dull with no phone in sight. The queue at the post office, the walk to the car park, the 12 minutes between putting the boys to bed and whatever happens next. That time is not nothing. That time is actually quite valuable, if you let it be. So, practical, because that is actually the useful part. I am not going to tell anyone to delete their apps and move to a farm. I have not done that. I am not planning to. What I have done is add friction, which sounds like a nothing phrase, but it is actually quite powerful in practice. The phone now charges in the kitchen overnight, not the bedroom. I bought an actual alarm clock, a proper one, slightly ugly, sits on the bedside table, does its one job without any notifications. The first thing I see in the morning is not Twitter or emails or whatever somebody needed from me at midnight. It is just the ceiling, and then the alarm, and then a cup of tea. That is it. And that gap, that first 20 minutes of the day without any incoming information, has made a genuine difference to how I feel going into the morning. The other one, and this is almost embarrassingly simple, is that the phone lives face down. It sounds ridiculous. It works. The number of times I picked it up just because I caught a glimpse of the screen lighting up, something I did not even consciously register as a decision, is genuinely embarrassing. Face down means I have to choose to look at it, which sounds like nothing until you realise how rarely you were actually choosing before. I also moved the apps. The ones that are designed to be addictive, social media, news, the ones with the little red dots that exist purely to make you feel like you are missing something. I put them in a folder, inside another folder, on the last page of my phone. If I want them, I can have them. I am a grown adult, but I have to actually mean it. I have to navigate there on purpose. And about 60% of the time, by the time I get there, I have forgotten why I wanted to go. That is friction. Small, unglamorous, entirely practical. And then there is the removing friction from the other side. The things I actually want to do but keep not doing. The book I want to read, it now lives on the coffee table, open, face down at the page I'm on. Not in a drawer, not on a shelf, right there. The notebook I actually want to write in, on the desk, pen next to it, already open. Not because I am pretending to be a writer, because every time I have to go and find the notebook and find a pen, I do not bother. But if it is already there, already open, the barrier is low enough that I actually do it. Make the good stuff easy. Make the time-wasting stuff slightly harder. That is genuinely all it is. The thing I keep coming back to, though, is not really about productivity. It is not about getting more done in a day. That is not quite it. It is about being present. Actually present. In my own life. I remember one Saturday afternoon, maybe 18 months ago. Both boys were in the garden. Brilliant afternoon, genuinely warm for once, which in this country is already a minor miracle. And I was sitting on the back step with my phone, half watching them, half scrolling through something I cannot even remember now. And my eldest said something, called out something to me. I do not know, something daft and funny probably. And I looked up and smiled and said, "Yeah, good lad," and went back to the phone. And he just carried on playing. He did not make anything of it. He was not upset. He is 7. He just carried on. But I sat there and thought, that was a moment, a real one, and I was half in it. Not because I was doing something important, because I was scrolling, because I had trained myself to always have something else going on. And that cost me something I cannot get back. That is when it stopped being about productivity for me. That is when it started being about something more basic. The idea that protecting your attention is not a lifestyle hack. It is not something clever people do to get more done. It is just respect. For your own life, for the people in it, for the moment that is actually happening rather than the one on the screen. I had 40 years of nobody explaining to me that my attention was finite, that it was worth something, that every time I handed it over to something that did not deserve it, I was spending something real. And you can tell me that sounds dramatic, and maybe it is slightly, but I do not think it is wrong. The boys are going to grow up in a world that is significantly better at this than the one I grew up in. More apps, more screens, more very clever people working very hard to keep them looking. And I cannot give them a world without that. I would not know how to, but I can at least show them that there is a choice in it. That you can put the thing down, that the washing up does not need a soundtrack, that sitting in a car for 5 minutes without reaching for the phone is not uncomfortable. It is actually fine. Better than fine. It turns out your own thoughts are reasonably good company once you remember they are there. Put the phone down. Not forever, just more often than you think to. The life you are half watching is yours,